I want to welcome you guys back to Covenant Podcast. I'm excited about our story for today. Today I have Logan and Sarah in here. They are actually married, and we're going to give you the story of how we got here. And what we want to make sure that you do is at the end of the day, you can follow some of their advice in the story, but I'm not sure their way of getting to this place in life was idealistic of a way that you're supposed to end up married with 2 kids. But enough said. That proves how amazing God is in the story. Yes. But as I always do when we start these things, I always try to throw out some really easy questions that I feel like you guys will be willing to talk about. But just number one, I always want to let everybody that's watching know a little bit about what you came from, how were you raised, where were you born, and all that stuff. Even if you want to talk about high school, middle school, whatever, just tell a little bit about you, and then we'll go from there. And I'll let you go first, Logan, since you're sitting right here.
All right. So I'm Logan, and I was born in Hickory, but raised in Lincoln my entire life. From what I remember of like church wise, when I was younger, we went to a church in Catawba County, Jacobs Fork Baptist, and my grandfather actually helped build the church a long time ago. He's no longer with us, but I remember we had a pastor who was like on fire for the Lord and all kind of stuff. And I think I was like, from what I can remember, I think I was like 7 or 8. And I remember he came forward and they announced that he was very sick, and he ended up passing away. But his son was also in ministry, and they thought, well, they being his family and then some of the churchgoers, they thought he was just going to step in line and take that over. Well, that didn't happen. You know how some church is just church and it's hard. So there was a disagreement. So they up and left. Him and some of the congregation left. And then the church, my family, who had like strong ties with the church, we were in this constant, bringing pastors in and trying them out, and they would take votes. I don't know. I was 7 or 8. I don't know. I wasn't in the vote. I was not voting. I was not voting. Yeah. And it just seemed like every time, I guess, something was wrong. Maybe they didn't have the unanimous or the majority. And I remember, and for me, this is really, I guess, where my story starts, being in church so young. And then I remember one Sunday, so every Sunday, we would go to my grandparents' house, my entire family, well, on my mom's side in Newton. We would go to my grandparents' house. We would eat either 2 places, Harbor Inn, or my grandmother would be cooking. It was always those 2 places, or China Express sometimes. But anyways, I remember one Sunday during all this falling out was going on, there was like the upstairs and there was like a downstairs den where the kids were at. And we had like a Sega Genesis down there and all kind of old video games. And we were watching TV. And I remember being down there, me and my 4 cousins and my sister, older sister. And all of a sudden you heard like a bunch of like commotion, and like it was not normal. And I remember my first aunt and uncle, they came and got my 2 cousins, girl cousins, and they're like, "Come on, we're leaving." And then I don't know, like it seemed like it was happening so fast. And then like here shortly later, my other aunt and uncle came and got my other 2 cousins and said, "We're leaving too." And when I tell you, I think I was 8 or 9. I'll be 30 in November. We have only been together as a family 2 other times since then. And for me, I can't speak for my parents. I love them both. They're the greatest mother, greatest father a kid could ask for. But like being rooted in the church, a church that your father-in-law helped build, I can't imagine what that did to them. Mm-hmm. So like when that happened, we just didn't go to church anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think we really went to church. We went a few times, like the holidays, like Christmas and stuff, to certain places. My dad went to Salem his entire life. We went there some. Like I was not rooted at all in anything for from 9 until, when did we get married?
A couple years ago.
Yeah. I mean, for real. I mean, I came and visit here some because you and Dad are good friends. Aaron was my basketball coach. So I came here some, not as much as I should have, but I'll let you kind of pick up somewhere. I'll stop my.
Well, I do remember a little bit of this because I knew your family. I didn't know that part about it, but I do remember thinking, just knowing you in high school, because I watched you play in high school and stuff, and knowing you, I always knew you had this hunger to know the truth. I mean, like, remember you would call me once in a while and say, "What are you doing right now? Can I come over to your house? I got to ask you some questions." And it was always about Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I think that happened 4, 5, 6 times over a period of about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
When you were searching, for whatever. And anyway, we'll get back to you in a minute.
Yeah, get back. Yeah.
So tell us about your upbringing. Hers is interesting.
My name's Sarah, and I was born and raised in Morganton. Which camera am I supposed to be looking at?
It don't matter. She's won't know which camera. Just tell her either one of them. But this is the story of podcast. Just look at that one.
And so I was born and raised in Morganton, and I was taken away from my mom when I was 7. So I was in foster care for about a year and a half. That wasn't the greatest. Foster care was probably a living hell.
Yeah.
And then I was adopted when I was in 1st grade. And from the day I was adopted until 18, we went to church every Sunday night, Wednesday night. We were in church. I had great parents. Was a rebellious teenager. And so I thought that I knew what was best for my life when I was 18. And so
we all did.
Yeah. I made some decisions that I shouldn't have, and lost my family. And it wasn't until like 4 years after I moved out of my parents that I started talking to my sister again. So from 18 until 22, I think it was just me, and then I had my friends, and like their families was what I considered family.
You moved around a lot, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
wherever somebody would let you spend the night, that's where you lived.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so then let's see. Me and my friend got an apartment in Hickory, and I lived there for about 4 months until I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah. Which brings us to another part of the story. Like, let's step back for a minute. Tell me how y'all met.
We met at a bar called Shooters in Mountain View.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we met, through mutual friends.
Yeah.
Were y'all like, did somebody pick you up to go on a date or something?
No.
We were just there.
Y'all were there?
Just there.
I was there.
Yeah. In your rebelliousness.
Yep.
You and yours.
Just lost. I was just lost. Yeah, I was just lost.
Yeah. And, anyway, y'all end up at least speaking to each other that night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And, I've listened to her testimony before on at a church she was speaking at one time, and she talks about you guys leaving. Y'all left together, and
no, I actually left and went home.
oh yeah,
And then I went and got
he
her.
came and picked me up.
Yeah.
And
So I did get her number.
yeah. And her address. Obviously. Yeah.
And I remember waking up at like 4:30 in the morning. I had to be at work at 7.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need my keys. I'm going to go home. And that's when he said, well, I brought you here. And I asked if he could take me home. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And he took me home, and I deleted every number. I deleted him off everything because I was embarrassed. And I was like, I'm never talking to him again.
Yeah.
It's like,
Little did you know. But
yeah.
fast forward. The next part of the story, becomes even more interesting. We are going to get to the part where God is smack in the middle of it. He was sovereign over all of these things that were going on, but not smack in the middle of the story yet. So fast forward a couple months, and is that when you found out you were?
I found out I was pregnant January the 3rd of 2016.
So when did y'all meet at this shooter's place?
November.
I feel like I'm in a court of law now.
It was his
It was on my
birthday
birthday.
weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, literally my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
yeah, thank you.
So January. Now, what did you say that date was? No.
Which one?
When your birthday was?
The 15th of November.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. And so in January, you thought, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, I'd been snowboarding all day, and on my way home from App, I was eating, and I was like, I feel really sick, and my friend was like, well, maybe you should take a test, and I was like, no, I'm not wasting my money on that, and because they're expensive. Pregnancy tests are expensive, and I took that first one, and I was like, I probably took 7 or 8 after that.
Yeah, no matter how expensive they were.
yeah, I did.
So, was your plan from the get go to let him know or not? I mean, like, this is the guy you met one time on his birthday.
Yeah,
Embarrassed you.
I didn't let him know until
I remember that day very well.
I bet you do.
I think it was after two doctor's appointments. My friend was like, I think you should at least tell him. And I was like, I don't even have his number. I don't know how I would get it.
Did you know his last name?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know his last name.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to.
Yeah, I did. But I finally, I got his phone number and I told him, and his response was, this is not how I wanted to have my first kid. I wanted to have my first kid with my wife who I loved. And I just said, well, I wasn't telling you to be a part of its life.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked after that. His mom found me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a while later.
So you did you let your parents?
No. So
no.
So the day she told me, I'll never forget. It was like, and it's one of the days that now I look back and just ha ha ha, but there wasn't no laughing then.
Yeah.
I was working with the county at the time, and we had just finished doing something. It was winter, it was cold, and we were coming up Country Club Road, going back toward to turn back on Salem, and I got a text message from one of my friends. He said, "Hey, have you talked to Sarah?" And I said,
"Who's Sarah?"
Yeah. I said, "No, I have not." He said, "Well, you need to talk to her." I said, "What's up?" He said, she says she's pregnant and that it's yours. And I was like, uh-huh. So then she ended up texting me and she sent me a picture of the pregnancy test. And when I saw the test, I knew what we had done, obviously, but immediately I knew,
yeah.
But to this point in my life, looking back, I didn't know this while this was going on. Looking back now in hindsight, I had made myself out to be like my own God,
Yeah.
I was doing anything and everything that pleased me. I didn't care what anybody thought. To be honest, I was just a douchebag.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
To most people. And a lot of people didn't see that because I was good at hiding stuff.
Yeah.
But when she told me, and it was like a picture, my heart sank out of my body, hit the pavement.
Yeah.
And
y'all ran over it.
Yeah, I ran over it. And then looking back now, the funny thing is, so we had just moved out to our new shop out on Salem Church Road,
Mm-hmm.
the old R.B. Cronin's place, and we had no plumbing. There was nowhere, no heat, no air. And I am panicking at this point, because I know everything that I have, everything that I have grown to love, is being taken from me. It's over. My life's over. So I go, it's probably 30 degrees. And it's no lie. We get back to the shop at 12 o'clock noon. I sit in a porta-john outside, cry my eyes out, just so mad at myself until I got up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I stayed in the porta-john for 4 hours. Because I didn't want anyone to know.
Fit the moment, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did fit the moment for real. And to answer your question, I think I didn't, well, that's not even the right vocabulary. That's not even the right words. I didn't tell anyone about this for a month and a half. I kept it to myself because my life that I thought was going to be mine, where I could control everything, places I
where
went,
you could be the
where
God.
I could be. Yeah. I thought that it was over. I knew it was over.
Yeah.
And, I may start crying in a minute, but
That's all right.
But only a few people know this. But so it took about a month. But the routine after I found out, the routine that I had, I would wake up, I would go to work, I would come home, I would eat sometimes, and I would go to my room. There would be I didn't watch TV hardly. Most of the time the lights were off. Like my life, I didn't even know like what I wanted anymore. Like if it was even worth at times. But it reached a boiling point one night, like a month and a half, whatever it was later. So I was sitting in my room. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And Dad works for the funeral home, and he had got a death call. So he left, and it was just me and Mom. And
Meaning he had to go pick up a body.
Yeah, for y'all who don't know. It was just me and my mom and my younger sister, and I think Caden was upstairs. Her room was upstairs at this point in the bonus room. So me and Mom were the only ones downstairs. I was in my room 1 o'clock in the morning, wide awake, and he's gone. And I remember just this feeling came over me, and I opened my eyes, and at the foot of my bed, I could see this figure. And I didn't know what it was until I knew what it was. And when I saw it, like, it had like red eyes, like bright. And like, I could see what I thought was like a smirk. And the words that I heard were, I have you now. You're mine. And you're not going anywhere. You might as well just end it. You might as well give up. At this point, I know that it's either two things, Satan himself or a demon.
Yeah.
Because like I've heard about these things when I was young at this Southern Baptist church, but I had never like really like whatever. But at this moment I knew, and I had never really thought about, ending my life until this moment because I was so lost and I was so scared. And in this moment I was thinking about all the things of my life, where I was going to go, how I was going to be a dad, how I was going to support someone I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I was like 20 years old. 21, 22 years old. And then the garage door opens. It's my dad. And my dad, usually when he got home, he would eat a bowl of cereal, Rice Krispies, and then he would lay on the couch and be out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, this night, it took longer. And my dad loves gospel music. He loves the praise and worship music, but he is old soul. He likes Gaither music. Yeah. He loves it.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he sat down. I don't know if I didn't go in there. He sat down and he turned on, I don't know if it was old VHS tape or if he found it on the TV. He turned on a Gaither song, and the song that came on was an older song. It's called There Is a River. And the chorus goes like, there is a fountain that flows from deep within. If you drink from this fountain, you will never thirst again. I don't know what happened. Well, I know what happened.
Yeah.
In this moment, something else came over me. And for whatever reason, I just thought back to when I was young. And I asked the Lord, I said, if you're real, if you're out there, if you have something for me, please help me. Because I don't want to kill myself. I don't know what else to do. When I opened my eyes, again, that figure was gone. And I just felt this peace come over me that I had never felt before. And the very next day, I went to work. We were up at Howard's Creek Community Building. I was mowing grass. And I just burst into tears and immediately called my mom and my dad and told them everything.
Yeah.
And what I thought was going to be, you're out of the house. We don't want anything to do with you. All the things that the devil had told me was going to happen. I was by myself. I'm sure they were disappointed because this is not who they thought they had raised. But they both reassured me that they love me and that no matter what, they would have my back. And then mom ended up
reaching out. Didn't know how much they were going to have your back.
Yeah. I think mom had her back more than mine most of the time, but that's okay. Because that's okay. But yeah.
Next part of the story, fast forward, your mom.
Yeah, my mom finds her on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, she sent me a friend request first. And before I could like really read the name, I just click confirm.
Yeah.
And then I was at work and I was with my friend and she knew everything that was going on. And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, I think his mom just found me on Facebook. I said, I just accepted her friend request. I said, should I delete it? I was like, I don't know her. And I mean, not even 5 seconds after I pressed confirm, she messaged me. And I was like, I am not messaging her back. And I worked 2 jobs. So I worked at a daycare like during the day, and I'd get off the daycare at 5 and I'd go work at my friend's parents' restaurant until like 9. And so I was like, I am not messaging her back. Well, she just kept on like sending me messages. And so finally, when I got off at the daycare and went to the other job, I messaged her back, and I don't really remember what all was said. But I guess she was just really trying to get to know me, and just kind of trying to line things up.
Yeah, she did that for a while.
Right. With
Yeah.
y'all?
Yeah.
Like,
And I just
What moms do always.
and so I mean, she asked when the baby was due, and like when my next doctor's visit was. She wanted to go, and I was like, I don't know.
It is funny now.
yeah, it was not funny at the time.
And because I was not talking to him.
No.
I told him, and I did not speak another word to him. And so she was like, please, just let me come. I want to be there, because I had kind of told her, I don't have my mom or, anybody to really go with me. I was going alone, and she wanted to come. And so I was like, okay, you can come to this first one. Well, then it just turned into every single one.
Yeah.
And, which is fine. I mean, it was, nice to have somebody there.
Yeah.
I remember Logan came to one appointment, and I told him not to come back.
Yeah.
It was very awkward.
Yeah, it was.
This happily married couple we're meeting with today.
Yeah. And so I was living with a friend, and working. I was doing my own thing, and she asked if I would move to Lincoln, and I said absolutely not. I said I am not moving to Lincoln, and she's like, well, you don't have that support. You'd be like a single mom and not have family, and I was like, well, that's fine. We can meet and do visitation or whatever, and she just kept on and asking me, and I was like, no, and finally I was like, if I were to, it would be after Berkeley's born.
Yeah.
I'm not coming before. And so Berkeley was born. I think that was the first time we talked in 9 months, the day she was born.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk much.
No. I about passed out.
So she was born, and I had agreed, to move down there or whatever. And
we need to clarify move down there. This is the part where we tell you this is probably not the best way to go about.
This is not marriage advice.
Eventually getting married or whatever is anyway, we're on part 2 of their story. Getting pregnant. Now we're moving in together, kind of, but not like you think. So I don't have to tell you how that will look.
Yeah. So the house that we used to live in was 4 bedrooms. So there was mom and dad's room, my room, my sister's room, and then
spare bedroom.
Spare bedroom. That's where Berkeley and Sarah stayed.
Berkeley, Sarah, Caden.
Yeah,
Caden kept me
immediately.
company.
Like I was not her brother anymore.
Yeah.
She had a sister.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to clarify, Sarah's moving into his parents' house where he still lives.
I don't have a house
because Logan's mother knows, and dad by now, know that she needs the support. That's their grandbaby. So even if Logan's acting not very nice or doing what he's supposed to do,
I still wasn't acting right.
Yeah. They're going to make sure that their grandbaby and the grandbaby's mother is taken care of and on the street somewhere. So anyway, keep going. This is interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to go, or do you want to go?
Yeah, you go, and then I'll whatever.
Probably for the first 2 weeks of Berkeley's life, I didn't come out of the bedroom. I don't think I ate. I would get up and use the bathroom when everybody was asleep.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
House.
I couldn't. I'd like looking back now. I don't know. Like, I'm not like a mother. I'm a dad, but like I don't know if I could have done that. To be honest, I'm glad you did. Like I obviously I'm joyful, full of joy that you did. But like I don't know how you did that.
Yeah. Luckily, they had 2. You guys had 2 living rooms.
Yeah, we did have 2 living rooms.
So Logan sat in one, and I sat in the other
for a long time.
Yes.
It was pretty much like You ever seen, it was like I don't even know how to explain it. It was like 2 houses in one, really.
Yeah. I mean, luckily Sydney came and visited me every day.
Yeah, I remember my daughter became friends with Sarah, and she would say, "And I actually met their daughter and became friends."
Yeah.
And Logan wasn't coming talk on the porch anymore. I know that
No.
at the time.
Yeah.
But
So
anyway, so 2 weeks you didn't come out of your room for a couple months. It was, yeah. We're moving the story along. How in the world, out of that, do y'all ever become a couple? Because my notes I wrote down, she got pregnant, then they moved into the same house, then they dated. Tell us how this worked.
let me just tell them how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So there was one night that I had went on a date with somebody else,
Yeah.
and I left Berkeley at home.
Yeah.
And I told Sandra I was going on another date, and she was beside herself. And I mean, the whole time I was gone, she was texting me, and
His mom.
Yeah.
it was a double date. So my friend dated his friend, and so I was just going to stay the night with my friend. I wasn't going to come back home.
Yeah.
And so she thought that I was like never coming back.
Yeah.
And so it just blew up. I think I got home at like 1. I was terrified to even come in there. And I remember that next morning, Logan asked if I can't remember how exactly where he asked. He thought that we should try things.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, we can go eat or whatever. And we did. And I think
Meaning you're asking her out on a date now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
he was asking me on a date,
Yeah.
and then went out with another girl 3 days later.
Yeah, I was still just dumb.
Yeah.
You really are.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so that happened. And then he just kept like, I want to work things out. I want to work things out. And he would, would go on a date or whatever. And then he would go out with somebody else,
Yeah.
but say he was going to do whatever
Lying
else.
too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was like the FBI.
Yeah.
I found out
So
every
did you like him
single
by now?
time.
I mean, did you actually like?
I think the last straw, I texted him. I told him I hated his guts.
Yeah.
And
But
he
that
was
means
like,
you liked him.
no.
No.
And he came home from work early because that was we had went to eat at Jen's, me, Sandra, and Caden.
Mhm.
And this girl had called me, and we were talking on the phone, and she was like, Logan said that you don't want to work things out and all this stuff. And why are you looking at me like that? You don't remember?
No, I don't.
I do.
I know you do. I don't.
And
I trust you.
and so I was so excited to eat Jen's. This is back when I liked it.
Yeah.
And I lost my appetite.
Yeah.
I was so mad that I felt like I had wasted so much time to try to work things out. And I remember texting him, and I was like, when you get home, Berkeley and myself, we're gone. Like, I'm not doing this anymore, because I mean, she was almost a year old, and if I'm going to, I wanted to settle down. Like, my wild days were over, and so I wanted my daughter to have what I
Normal.
didn't have. Yeah. I wanted her to have a steady home with, parents, and if that's not what he wanted, then I was going to go find it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so I remember him coming home from work. You worked at the jail.
Yeah, we're taking sure.
And I think from then on,
Yeah.
You had a moment of awakening or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. I was at work at the sheriff's office, and it's hard to get off work there. I mean, especially I worked in the jail. So like, I remember her texting me. It was even hard for me to like look on my phone there, because I mean, you're supposed to be watching inmates and stuff. But anyways, she texted me and told me, she's like, hey, when you get home, we're not going to be here. We're going to be gone. And like, up to this point, I love my daughter. I love Berkeley with all my heart. Like, I was still dying to like my old self, like the things that I held on to for a long time, I was still trying to hold on to them, even though I knew I shouldn't.
Yeah.
It was like I was fighting two battles. I was trying to serve two masters. And I did that for a long time. And then when she texted me and said, when I knew that I may not ever see her again, and then it would be like seeing Berkeley like every other week or something, I couldn't do that. Because even how dumb I was, even the things I was doing, the mistakes I made, when I got to come home from work or wherever I was and I saw Berkeley, my daughter, like that's what I was living for.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine not seeing her every day. And I cared about Sarah too, even though I didn't show it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the mother of my child.
Yeah.
And when she texted me and said, "Hey, we're going to be gone," I pretty much told him, I said, either you're going to let me leave or I'm not coming back. I got home and we talked and cried a bunch in the car. And then I'm not going to say, like, this is not me saying our marriage has been perfect since, or our relationship first has not been perfect since, because it hasn't. I mean, that's relationships.
Yeah.
But I've tried, and I'm still trying every day to be better in a lot of aspects of my life. So that was kind of the turning point when she texted me that. It was an ultimatum, really, but it was one that I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Because I thought still that I could do what I wanted.
Right. But you didn't want him like staying with you just because he liked her. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You wanted him to love you too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
because up to this point, like, I don't know if I ever really took it serious.
Yeah.
I wish that I would have sooner.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't wish I would have sooner, because I don't know if it would turn out the way it turned out now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't, if you're listening and you're a young man or an older person, if you're looking for and you're in a relationship, do not do what I did. Like, if you know, and do it. But like, I wouldn't change a thing, is what I'm trying to say. Like, because where we are now.
Yeah.
So.
And where they are now is probably why y'all are in here today. If y'all's story kept going that other direction, we wouldn't be doing a podcast.
No.
Take my word for that.
No.
You know, what's happened from my perspective, because I had a front row seat, quite frankly. His dad is one of my best friends my whole life. My daughter became one of her best friends. Logan was a kid that I watched grow up and wanted to kind of semi-mentor. I knew was acting cray-cray out there. I knew about the pregnancy. I remember you moving into the house. You know, I remember thinking that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. You know, no offense, Sandra. I thought these people are crazy. You know, in a way.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
But I also understood their love for the child. You know, all of them had that. All of y'all had that. Your mom and dad were crazy about her, and I remember my daughter telling me they're actually dating now, and I'm like, what? Because this is not really the way you outline it's supposed to happen here, by the way. but God, you know, what I watched happen next became the moment where, you know, there's a God, you know, because I watched y'all fall in love. I mean, literally watched y'all, and I'm not talking about casually falling in love, and I'm not talking about physical attraction. I'm talking about like deep, emotional, like head over heels, serving her, like loving her, like unconditionally, and vice versa. Kind of love that you dream for your kid to have in a relationship. You know, I watched y'all fall in love. I watched y'all coming to my grandkids' birthday parties, and watched y'all at ball games, and then you started coming to church.
Yeah.
And I was dumbfounded at what God did. It was like, who could have planned? Who could have made this thing that looked like that turn into this? But God.
Yeah.
You know, a girl that grew up in foster care, a girl that went through a lot of abuse, a girl that went through. I ain't trying to jump all over you, but I'm just outlining the story. A girl that was had her wild moments, hooks up with some guy that don't have any direction in his life whatsoever, and produce a child. And his mom invites her into the house. They don't really even speak for a year, and then start dating, and then have this kind of love.
Yeah.
And when I tell you this kind of love, I don't mean it like in a casual way. I mean, the kind of love that I see y'all have challenges me to be a better husband and father, and to watch y'all. How many years has it been now? How long you been married now?
Be 5 in July.
5 years in July. And I know you are not the perfect couple. I'm not trying to put you on some kind of pedestal, but the way you honor that girl and the way you love this man inspires my heart. Both of you have been active in our church, youth ministry, and otherwise, and now they have another little man, and that is amazingly beautiful. And their kids, their daughter's basically best friends with my granddaughters. And
Yes.
they make all kind of plans together. For me to get to watch y'all's story from my view, my vantage point has been like, only God could do that. And in terrible order of things, we can agree to that. But what we can't disagree on is, or what we also must agree on, is that didn't God do something special?
Mhm.
Those
Yes.
two kids that didn't even know each other that met in the bar,
Yeah.
and now you are serving the Lord with all your heart. And I'm proud of you,
Yeah.
ultimately, and so, yeah, I wanted, when I heard a testimony, my daughter had sent me a testimony of Sarah's, and while I knew that story, to hear it again, like just in order, I was like, this is crazier than I remembered, but then God turned into something beautiful,
Yeah, like-
Amen.
Right.
Yeah.
Like now, for instance, I'm back to y'all now. What's next for y'all? Like, why are you on here telling this story? When I called you to say, will you think about it? I think I actually texted you, and you were like, yeah, it's time for me to tell my story.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does that mean? Why it's time? I mean, what's God got for y'all?
I hope it's to inspire, someone that's going through the same thing, to not give up,
Yeah.
to constantly chase God because He can produce any miracle.
Yeah.
Never quit praying and having faith.
Yeah. What do you think?
I just, I think like it's just a testament to how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
The things he'll do, even when maybe you don't want him to.
Yeah.
But he ultimately knows what's best for you because he created you.
Yeah.
And kind of just piggybacking and agreeing with her, if this is you and you hear this and it hits you right in your gut, the only thing that I can tell you is that if you add God to any situation, it's gonna go for good, because he literally took. I'm gonna use the word mistake, but there is no mistakes.
Yeah.
He took. I'll change that word. He took my biggest mess that I've ever had, and he turned it into my 3 biggest blessings that I ever have.
Yeah.
I have a wife who I love and 2 wonderful children that I wouldn't trade the world for, and he did that for me.
He did that.
He did that. I tried to go against that multiple times.
Yeah.
But by the grace of God and then her patience, thank the Lord, we get to sit here.
I agree with that part.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because I don't know. Then I tried. Obviously I knew Sarah later on. Because she became friends with my daughter. I always thought, from the first time I ever met you, I just thought, man, what a pure-hearted kid. Even though I didn't know you'd been through all you'd been through in your lifetime, but I thought you're about as real as anybody I've ever met from day one. And Logan, I loved him because I just knew him since he was a kid, but I never seen anybody that would want something so much one day and then completely not know what he wanted the next.
Yeah.
And that went with your spiritual life, and went with sports, and went
Yeah,
everything,
for real.
every part of your life.
Yeah.
Until you attached yourself to your Father, your Heavenly Father, who knew your reason for being.
Yeah.
And this guy's had, I tell you, incredible impact on our young people in our church, and you as well. Just it's been inspirational to me, and I'm just telling you. I know I said it a while ago, but I'm so proud of y'all. I can't stand it. I love your kids like they're my grandkids, but
I know Berkeley calls you Bub.
yeah, she is my grandchild, and but I wanted the world to hear your story, not because it would elevate either one of you, even though I'm proud of you, but because it elevates what our Father can do
Amen.
if you just let go and let God, And so thank y'all. I know
Yeah, thank
it's
you
not
for
always
having us.
easy to tell your flaws, but I do believe that y'all are going to help some people. And I doubt anybody's story is going to look exactly like yours.
No, that'd
Because
be
I've
crazy.
never heard one like it. It might be a book or a movie somewhere along the way, but everybody has the potential to have been going through something, that they feel like there's no answer. There's a demon standing at the end of my bed telling me to blow my head off. I don't have anywhere to live. Nobody loves me. To turn that into this, what a beautiful Father we have, and so thank y'all, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
We love you. Can't wait to see what's next. I really can't. I believe God will open doors for y'all, and it's going to be an amazing journey. And again, I love y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you guys joining in. I know their story's crazy awesome, but it's a God story. If you know anybody that's going through something hard, I don't care if it's addiction or pregnancy out of wedlock or just loss of hope, send this to them, let them know it's not about covenant. It's not about either one of us. It's about the Lord Jesus Christ and what he can do. And so we appreciate you guys joining in with us today, and we will see you next time. Thank you.